Okay, so welcome class. And so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually have you open up a platform that Google hosts that's going to allow you to compile Python code. So we're going to write this program in Python, but Python is just a language. You have to have something that can actually compile that language. Now, Google has been so generous as to donate some server space for a project called Google Colab. So the very first thing I want you to do is go to Google and just type in Colab. Okay. You're going to need a Google account. So if you do not have a Google account, the very first thing that you'll have to do is actually go create a free Google account. As you can see, I'm already signed in, but if you don't have one, you'll have to create one before going through this process. So if you don't have one, pause the video, go create a Google account, sign up for the free account, and then start the video from this point again. Okay, so continuing on, go to type in Colab in Google search, go to Google Colab, and it will bring up something that looks like this. You probably won't have the same things in this box, but this is just kind of where we can normally get started with things. You can actually cancel out of this original box, and it'll bring you to the main page. Okay, so this is exactly where we're going to be compiling our Python code. Now, let's see, where do we get the code? Well, so I'm going to supply you with your first script, and so the very first thing that we're going to do in Google Colab is go get the script and go get the data that I put for you in a separate website. So what I want you to do is go open up a new web browser, type in github.com/mknomics/SODA for soda. Okay, so if you go to that URL, this will take you to my GitHub repository. Now, this is kind of a cool thing that they have for, this is another widely used platform. The cool thing is that they allow for the sharing of code and data on this platform, just like what I'm going to do here is I've posted a script and I've also posted a data set. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the data set, but before we get into any of those details, we're just going to upload the data set and upload the script into Google Colab, which is where everything's going to run. It's in the other tab, remember. So now we're on GitHub, and you can see I've got a few files that I've put in here. I put in this demand_estimation, IPYNB, that's the designation file here. This is going to be very similar to what's called a Jupyter Notebook, and this is the file where the code that I've written is stored. Okay, you'll have a README file, which I wrote just down here. This tells you a little bit about this data set. So README says this data was taken from Kaggle, which is uploaded simply to help you learn how to upload data. The data set's got, you're going to look at about 7,561 observations of soda prices, and it's actually going to be in Greece. So we're going to have to, we have some very kind of nice data to look at, looking at the demand for soda, and we can do some interesting things with it. So, but before we do that, we need to upload the data. The data itself is in soda.csv right here. So what I want you to do as a first step, we can go ahead and just look at the data first. So if we go click here and look at it, just to check it out. So I clicked on the data file, and let's go ahead and look at it in raw. So over here there's a section called raw. You can see. And this shows you how a CSV file, CSV stands for comma separated value. So look, every one of these lines, you can think about this sort of like an Excel sheet, and every one of these lines is a row, And then the columns are going to be actually designated by comma values. So this is comma, comma, these are all different rows. And then the very last one doesn't have any comma, that's going to be the end of that line. And so the whole file is actually just going to separate the rows based upon commas. And I could use any type of character I want, but commas is one of the most common. So that's what we stick with here. So there's our data file. I just wanted to show you, actually, well, you know, we could look at it. We've got ID, date. So we've got date, city, there's Athens, there's a bunch of cities. Get the latitude, longitude of what? Well, of different shops. So you've got shop 1, shop 3, different shops within the cities, all selling different products of Coke. Here we've got adult cola, the container type, the capacity of the container, 1.5 liter, the price, 2.46, and the quantity that was sold on that day. I think it's actually on that month when I looked at the data. I think this data here is going to be monthly data for 8 years, I believe. I'll have to double check that. But you got quite a bit of data on a lot of different shops and on their soda prices and the amount that they sold, the price and quantity, which is what we need to do. That's the main thing for demand estimation. So let's try to get this into Colab. Let's go back, actually. So just go click on the back button, get back to the GitHub page. Get back to the main GitHub, which is just, my internet is terribly slow right now. It's this mknomics/soda. And we're going to need to get this, first thing as a first step, we're going to need to get this, this script into Colab. So in order to do that, go to Colab. Okay, so I went back to Colab. And then we're going to go File, and I'm going to open a notebook. And you'll see when I hit File, Open Notebook, I get this pop-up window. And on the top bar, I'm going to select GitHub. And then you see it's asking me for a URL address. So what I need to do is get the URL address, but it has to be the right one. I have to get the URL address for this file, not just this whole page. So to get the URL for this file, click on that file. Okay, it'll open it up. Go ahead and open up raw, which is another selection here. And then you're going to want to copy this entire, so when you pull up the raw file, it's not going to look very nice, but just go ahead and copy that top URL. So Control C, copy that URL, and then go back to your Colab and paste it. And then hit this little search icon or hit enter. And you should see something like this. Now I'm going to go ahead and open this. Now I do have to warn you that when you try to open this file in Colab, it might throw a warning to you because you're opening up a script. And that's just to try to protect you from opening up malicious scripts. But I do promise you that I did not write anything malicious for your course. So your course is not going to blow up your computer or hack you in any way. Okay, so you can go ahead and clear that that warning and just cancel it out and actually open up the script. So once you actually open that file in Colab, then you should see this notebook. This is what would look most like what's called a Jupyter notebook. This is a notebook where I've written a bunch of different code. Okay, and we're going to go through this code and do some estimation. You see, eventually we're going to get to some types of demand estimations and other kinds of estimations. But the very first thing, hopefully now you've successfully done, is to upload this code. And if not, if you run into any glitches, you can always contact me directly. This is a necessary part. The nice thing about what Google Colab does is it provides this kind of, so it provides computational power in the cloud on Google servers, so you don't have to actually put it on any kind of thing on your personal computer in order to execute this code. And since it's on the cloud, it's actually very scalable. So you can actually run bigger data science projects here, maybe even than you could on your own computer, although at some point you have to start paying when you use very large amounts of data. But right now we don't need to worry about that because we'll be far below any kind of those requirements. So with all that said, I'm going to go on to our next part, which will actually be running through this line by line. Oh, one last thing. Actually, no, I'm going to go through it line by line. Okay, we'll see you at the next video.